quick update on my 2010 Audi A4 Quattro manual transmission, 6-speed, 2-liter turbo. I did this intake heat divider type deal in my spare time. Made this little air dam. Works all right. Got the catch can breather system. It's got a Franken turbo on it, apparently. That's what it said on the label. So I bought this car in 2015 off eBay. It had 191,000 miles at the time. Now it has 241,000 miles. I didn't know that it had stage 3 larger turbo or any of that. I found that out after I bought it. I bought this thing for just shy of $5,000 because they were still relatively new, but this one didn't run and it had a bunch of miles on it. It already had the murdered out 5% tint. It had nicer wheels on it, the factory wheels. I put these cheapo wheels on it. Right now it's got winter tires on it. So I've done a few things to it. When I bought it, it had a factory intercooler. I've never upgraded it, but I'm gonna upgrade it with the TDI intercooler. So apparently that just plugs right in, and that's larger for the 3-liter TDI. Even with a welded solid rear differential, if I were to jack the front axle up off the ground, the front wheels would just spin. Even if I accelerated hard, it would not send any power to the rear. It would just freewheel the front. So the center differential doesn't really work as good as you would think it would work. It doesn't split the power. It just goes to the path of least resistance. So when you're going around corners, even in a rear-wheel drive car, it chirps the rear tires, because an open differential will spin the outside wheel more and the inside wheel less, just because that's the geometry of a turn. And whenever it's solid, you can't freewheel like that. It's not like a slipped clutch or anything, or a completely open differential. So the tires have to chirp on the road. With that slipping center differential also in the equation, it would kind of like bounce power front to back, side to side, whatever. It was just choppy. And also if you're accelerating hard around corners, it also kind of felt like that. So now I replaced the center differential with a solid differential. So now it's open front, basically no center differential. It's solid, and then it's a solid rear differential, meaning locked. Like there's no give, no clutch. This is the center differential I pulled out, and I replaced it with the ECS tuning one that is just solid one piece. It weighs a lot less. I was a little bit confused. I didn't see any instructions or anything, but there was a few shims. I lost one. Probably could find it if I looked. There was a spring in there. The replacement solid center differential didn't have bearings on it, but everything seemed to work, and I've been driving it, and it drives fantastic. Like I was saying, cornering, low speed maneuvering, it always kind of like feel choppy and scoot around. That's normal, but it was more aggressive with the center differential. Now that it's completely locked, the scooting around corners is not near as noticeable. I mean, it's very drivable. I would normally hear them and feel them a lot more, and now it just kind of feels normal. And part of that probably is, I don't know if part of it is because I completely disabled the electronic stability program, but I know for sure it feels 100% better under power, because it would lurk in the background and kick in. 100% it would. And if you haven't experienced that yet, then you just haven't put power around corners in these specific vehicles. Because I also tow with them, and I can turn the stability program off, and just with the trailer it tries to, because it's this latitude and longitude yaw sensor or whatever underneath the driver's seat. If you disable it, if you unplug it, it can't tell if you're sliding sideways. It can't tell if you're out of control. But apparently the ABS still works, because the ABS light is not on. I actually have not hammered the brakes hard enough yet to test the ABS, but So I can, and I eventually will, put these plugs in. I can take the drive shafts out, and I have to have something to hold the bearings together. So you put these plugs in, and you put the axle bolt back through it. And then with the front drive axles removed, that turns this Audi A4 Quattro K04 manual transmission car with a welded rear differential into a rear-wheel drive platform vehicle. But the problem is it's not. It's still an all-wheel drive. And one of the problems with Audis is they've always been nose heavy, and the entire engine is hanging over the front axle, and the transmission weighs a ton, and it still has a front differential that's still spinning, and all that extra weight and drivetrain weight I cannot remove. I've thought about it, and anyway, and I've even thought about trying to take the whole platform and move the engine and transmission back, but it's just too much. It's much better to start with a better platform designed for what you're doing. So I think all-wheel drive is the trick, but I really wish I could implement a rear handbrake, but since it's all-wheel drive and that's the way it's going to drive best, if I do a rear handbrake, it's going to break the front because it's all connected. So I will play, but I've already played around with this same exact setup before on a B5 Audi, a 1.8T, and you know, I know how they slide around rear-wheel drive. I know how they feel so nose heavy, and it's not a well-balanced vehicle. It's not worth it. The best platform right here is the way I have it sitting, with a locked rear diff, a locked center diff, and obviously an open front diff, and it gets down. It darts around corners for sure. I'll do a little bit of driving and show you and stuff. I gotta put some different wheels and tires on it and things like that. So I've not cleaned this car out for a long time. It's always had those floor mats sitting there. Underneath that seat is this vent for the rear passengers. I don't really care about rear passengers in this car. This is just a beater, so I'm just gonna throw this away now. To get to that, first I had to cut out this patch of carpet, and you could be better with all this, and if you care about your car, you could take the whole carpet out and you wouldn't even have to hack things up, but this is my car, I don't care. So if you move this floor mat back, you'll see how dirty it is, but ultimately the connector to the sensor is right here, and I can push the seat up. That's what you have to unplug to completely unlock your electronic stability program. But then it'll mess a bunch of other stuff up. Like this is how you get your oil level sensor, but I think you can plug it back in, you know? That's why I hacked everything up, so I can plug it back in if I want. And then everything's hunky-dory. But let me show you all the lights that are on with it unplugged. So this car didn't have any dash lights on it before. These are all the dash lights you're gonna have on when you unplug that. You're gonna have not a parking brake light, because that's, and not a center brake light, because that's just the stupid LED. I've already replaced it once. I don't feel like replacing it again. It still works. Then we have the parking brake malfunction always comes on. That one right there, when the airbag light is on. And so we've also got a tire pressure light that will not turn off, and that's the stability light that won't turn off. But I do not have an ABS light, which is good. We've also got a seat belt light on. So I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm not bothered with the stupid lights flashing. On fancy rally cars and whatnot, I guess they have like an active rear differential that whenever you pull the handbrake for handbrake turns, it would disconnect the rear drive line or from the front. I'm gonna go ahead and put a black bumper and fender back on it. What else? I gotta do front suspension. I got a bigger sway bar for it just because I have it. It's already got S4 brakes. And what else? It's got a short shifter. What else? I mean, pretty basic, really.